I remember when this happened. So I want you to tell the story. It's your story to tell.
Yeah. My wife, all of a sudden, 4 a.m., standing over me and goes, the baby's okay, but there's a dog in our house. And I'm just like, babe, this is perfect because I read all the postpartum articles. I'm here to support you. I understand this. And she's like, no, dummy, there's another dog in our house. And I go downstairs and there is this dog in our house that is very tiny and I'm half asleep, but everything's locked. The windows are closed. The door's closed. Like, what is going on? And I convinced myself, this is just a puppy that someone got for Christmas that got away. It's got a chip. We'll sort this out in the morning. I go to my security cabinet. So first I search the house. I'm the only person in Pennsylvania who doesn't own a gun at that time. So I'm just like with a butcher knife, like just opening every closet, like ready to kill.
Because what you think, family. Because you're like someone else might have gotten in the house.
Yeah,
like if a dog could get in.
Yeah, how else did this dog get in here? Someone had to do this. There we go. It's pronounced Jokinen.
Jokinen?
Yeah.
I've been calling you Jack Jokinen my whole life.
Yeah, Jokinen. Most people do. You hit a point in life where you're just like, I'm not even going to correct people anymore.
Well, that's the thing, I think, and welcome to the JTrain Podcast. We'll keep all this in. I want people to know that I was such an asshole to not know your name all these years. Well, you're JJ from the Bronx to me. Sometimes you get known as your handle.
Well, that's the thing. The crazy thing about, and we're going to talk about the dog story is that's when Jack Jokinen and JJ became the same person.
Welcome to the new JTrain Podcast.
JJ was like a character on the internet. Jack Jokinen has a LinkedIn page. Like, I can't have the two of them. There's stuff on Twitter you don't want on LinkedIn.
Right. Well, it's such a great thing to start with because we met at open mics doing comedy, and you were JJ from the Bronx writing for Barstool about the Yankees. Like,
we met before that. Joe Klein was like booking a show. What a throwback name. And he was like, hey, you're in New York. You want to come on? And I was like, yeah, dude, of course. Because I had been like bumming around Philly doing some stand-up, just trying to be a better presenter for like my real job. I didn't want to do Toastmasters. So I was like, if I just go start doing stand-up, maybe that'll help.
Which is something over the years with stand-up that I have come to realize, like how much it helps people in every way. Like you don't know what, at every open mic, everyone's sitting there with a different version of what they see it as than you. And everyone from I'm going to be on SNL to I just want to be able to talk in front of a group. Like, and I almost wish I knew that minute one. Yeah. I don't think I ever knew that in the beginning. And it is because some people are in there going, I want to get an agent and become an actor. I don't want anything to do with this stand-up thing. So it's such a spectrum. Okay, so yes,
like my goal was I never wanted to like really be a stand-up. I like doing stand-up. I like making people laugh. I thought it helped me be a better communicator, and I'd meet some interesting people like along the way. And then I was doing at the time like consulting work. So every week I'm in a different city. So it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday in Milwaukee. I can watch SportsCenter 4 times in my hotel room. Or at that time, go on Bad Slava and find an open mic and figure like, how do I talk to the Midwest? But yeah, Joe Klein invites me to this show, and he's like, oh, there's like 2 people before you, guys up there, and then you show up and go on, and you had just done the AVN Awards for Bro Bible,
right?
And you were like the most famous person in the world to me for some reason, like, and I ate shit.
Low bar.
Bad. I ate shit so bad because I was like kind of starstruck by you. And I remember years later when we reconnected, and I told you that, you were like, I do remember you kind of bombing after me, like now that you pointed out.
I remember everyone's bomb. Yeah, that's my thing. Well, I do. You've always been. It's always like a pleasure to come across you, and I always also I got my Yankees news from you. Like I would like. I don't keep up with baseball, but then I was following you on Twitter, and I would always know like kind of what the the vibe was from Yankee Nation.
Yeah.
You were kind of like the one I trusted.
Yeah, I appreciate that, as a Red Sox fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was with Barstool because I grew up with KFC, and he was just like, baseball, the Yankees, you do comedy. You get what we're doing here. And I was like, I definitely do not get what you're doing here. But maybe I'll go to one game for free at some point. And so I just did that for 4 years. I started my own podcast for fun and got to reconnect with people like you. And, we've talked, it's just so funny the people you meet. I tell people now, Gillian Keeves, McKeever, we used to do the same shows. He at one point outside a show was just like, hey man, we're making some YouTube videos. I think you're a funny guy. You should be in it. Now, I'm not saying I would be Shane Gillis, but I did go no, YouTube videos, that's not a thing. YouTube's not a thing. So,
right.
You also learn how dumb you can be sometimes doing this.
Right. Right. And it is funny when you think about that. And when we started, what's going to be a thing? You don't even know. You're just to you. And honestly, you didn't miss out on anything. You did what you were having fun doing, which is really the dream of any person that puts things out there. Is I want to have fun doing this thing that hopefully people become invested in and want more of, and I can make a career out of it. And so I'm following you as I follow whoever I follow, and we're going to get to the book. So, and this is why Jack is here with me, but to chit chat, but also he's got a book to sell that is out on September 3rd. It is called A Stray Dog for Christmas. And you can all go follow Jack on Instagram at JJ from the Bronx. And it's called A Stray Dog for Christmas. We will have a link to where you can purchase the book, and we'll have a link in the description of this episode, both on YouTube and on podcast apps. But I remember when this happened. So I want you to tell the story. It's your story to tell. Yeah. But to see it become a children's book is so cool. To take something that really, and I followed, you were on the news. Go tell the story.
Yeah. And I will say, when it happened, as we're about to tell it, you were one of the first people to text me too. You were like, yo, this is so cool what you're doing. And as you're now, and I'll explain the situation, but as you're coming back to now trying to promote this thing, and I'm not with Barstool, I'm not with anyone. As I try to describe my presence on the internet, I'm just I'm just kind of a citizen of the internet. I'm not a stand-up, I'm not an actor, I'm just a guy on the internet. I talk a little politics, I talk a little baseball. If you like it, hang out. If not, keep it moving. And then I adopted a dog.
Right, and you adopted a dog, but it is interesting. This comes back to the Jack Jokinen and the JJ from the Bronx coming together, because it's when people hear Barstool, they have a certain thing that goes off in their brain. They put you in a category, and that's what people do. When I had a friend the other day, he's like, so you're not doing the frat guy thing anymore. I was like, I never thought I was doing a frat guy thing. I did a character that was a frat guy doing interviews sometimes, but my stand-up was always just me talking about my life. It wasn't I was going on stage being yo, what up? Look at all these tits. But it was, and I was if anything, and this is a friend of mine from college, I was talking about our lives.
You were there, bro.
Right. You're making me out to be Joe Frat. And I'm you and I were having these conversations off stage. And then I was talking about my dating life on stage. But I'm I had to come back from it, because I'm this is what people do. They simplify, they brand you, they go, oh, that's the Barstool guy, that's the baseball guy. And it is interesting when something like this happens, and that is generally, quote unquote, sweet. I'm sure, well, tell the story, because I'm sure you had people going, and that's annoying. It's what do you think? I'm gonna turn away a dog? What do you think? I'm an asshole? What do you think? What do you think of me? That's what I would think.
You learn what people think of you really quick. So December 2019, December 14th, it's the middle of the night. Well, so on the 13th, I have a dog, George. I walk him. It's starting to rain and snow. I got an umbrella, raincoat, wet dog. I have a 1 month old.
Hmm.
So I'm half asleep in life at this point. And I come in and I'm trying to get all the wet stuff off. And I close the door and I live in Philly. And just like the handle, I had an electric lock. So I hear it lock, but I don't see that like the thing doesn't catch all the way. And it's just kind of wedged shut.
Uh-huh.
Up for like another hour or two. My wife, all of a sudden, 4 a.m., standing over me and goes, "The baby's okay, but there's a dog in our house." And I'm just like, "Babe, this is perfect," because I read all the postpartum articles. I'm here to support you. I understand this. And she's like, "No, dummy, there's another dog in our house." And I go downstairs and there is this dog in our house that is very tiny and I'm half asleep, but everything's locked. The windows are closed, the door's closed. Like, what is going on? And I convinced myself this is just a puppy that someone got for Christmas that got away. It's got a chip. We'll sort this out in the morning. I go to my security cabinet. So first I search the house. I'm the only person in Pennsylvania who doesn't own a gun at that time. So I'm just like with a butcher knife, like just opening every closet, like ready to kill. To
Because what
protect
you
my
think,
family.
like to because you're like someone else might have gotten in the house.
Yeah,
Like if a
like
dog
how
could get
else?
in.
Yeah, how else did this dog get in here? Someone had to do this. I didn't know it was me who did it. So I look, I have like security cameras and I see at like 3:16 in the morning, this dog comes around the corner, comes by my house, sees the door open, goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out, goes in. Someone walks by, nothing. A drunk guy walks by. He starts, we had like a stoop. He starts jumping. He's like, that door's open, goes up, now yells, knocks, just pulls the door shut, doesn't see the dog. So now I at least like know how the dog got here. He ended up being a really nice guy named Steve. I had never met before.
The drunk
He
guy.
was the door guy, yeah. The
The,
guy
the
who closed
drunk
the door.
guy. He was just
Yeah.
like a drunk guy. He was just like out and he
He
saw the
was
door open.
Yeah, there was a 24-hour diner like down the block from me one way and a gas station the other way. And he was finishing up at the diner, had a bag of beer still, was going to get like cigarettes. And that's the only reason he walked by. He was also about 2 years into recovery. And he told me when I met him, like 2 years ago, I probably tried to like hurt your family. I try to rob you. Like it's a totally different situation.
Oh my
I was a
God.
different person. So it was a lot of like, can't believe this all lined up. And so like, if I'm on a plane that's going down, I'm going to get a tweet off. So I initially was like, found this dog in my house, before I even searched. The only people up at 4 a.m. are Pat McAfee and Randy Scott from SportsCenter. Like Pat's going to game day, Randy's getting
Yeah.
ready for SportsCenter. And they just start joking about it. Like, seems like you got another dog now, man. And only know Pat because of Barstool connection. So it's like it's starting to build up because you don't go back to sleep after you find a dog in your house. Like I put her in a crate in our finished basement, gave her some
How'd the
food.
dog look?
Terrible. So now as I've like woken up more, I'm like, oh, this isn't a puppy. This is a dog that weighs about half what it's supposed to. It's limping. So the end result was she was 19 pounds, should have been like 35.
Right.
Fleas and ticks, infections in all four paws, ended up having to have 19 teeth removed, had a heart murmur, so it gets like regular echocardiogram. So like this dog just looked like bad shape. And after you find a dog like that, if you Google like what to do when you find a dog in your house, not much out there, not a
Okay.
lot of good tips.
Okay.
So I look up animal control. They open at 8. I call them at 8:01 and they say like, yeah, you drop it off at 11. We'll take care of it. And I was just like, that you're going to kill this dog. So we call our vet for our first dog, who we didn't really like. And they were like, no room at the inn. Sorry. So we found an emergency vet, went, and in the time of these like couple of hours, this dog just got so attached to me. And it was like, this is the last thing we need right now. We got a baby. We have another dog.
But you're saving. So the dog kind of felt that you're saving her
Yeah.
life. Like you could
it
feel
was
that.
like, yeah, like I guess I didn't grow up with dogs, so my wife explained that like I'm alpha. Once we got like George at first, he followed me around everywhere. Susie follows me around. Like she's just on the other side of the monitor. Like she's always near me.
Susie's
so
the
by the
dog's name.
Susie's the dog's name. Susan Putman, named after Yankees radio announcer Susan Waldman.
I love it. Okay.
So as I'm,
She's
going through
famous. She's famous for being the Yankees announcer, but to me, Roger Clemens.
So
She
here's the
has
messed up thing. And she had tracked me down through a reporter. We've emailed. She's such a sweet woman. I host a Yankees podcast called George's Box, where the intro is a remix of what you just said.
Oh, really?
My other dog, George, his real name is Jorge Posada because she goes, oh my God, Roger Clemens is in George's box. Look at the dugout. Jorge Posada is smiling. So it's just this big, like, because of that moment that, like,
Yeah.
you have to be of a certain age and like a baseball fan at that time to get the reference. But when you do, you're like, that's so funny.
Oh my God, you just made my day. I can't believe I came across it. That's how I know her, especially as a Red Sox fan at that era, like it was like annoying, like Roger Clemens going to the Yankees and she's like screaming like this. Yeah. Okay, this is great.
It all ties together. So we go to the vet. I'm like, yeah, just go check the chip. They come back. They're like, there's no chip. Do you want us to chip her? And
the chip, what's the chip? I'm not a dog person, but I'm sure dog people know.
So responsible dog owners have a chip put in their dog. So like when a dog's found, they can scan the chip and it's got your contact information.
Okay. So this dog is just gone through shit, like just a homeless dog.
Homeless dog, no chip. They're like, do you want us to chip her? And I'm just like, what do you mean? Find out. Apparently dogs are finders keepers. I had no idea that dogs were just finders keepers. And so I was just like, don't even show me the bill. Here's my credit card. We'll take care of this. And now it's about 11 o'clock. So I put together a quick Twitter video kind of summarizing this thread that I had been tweeting. Yes. And people had asked like, hey, what's your Venmo? You're going to have medical bills. Or if you can't take that dog, I'll take that dog. Like, we'll help you, whatever. So one time I just put out my Venmo. And we end up getting $42,000 from people for her medical bills. Yeah. And so
how much were the bills?
The bills, we've probably spent a little over like $20,000 on her medical bills.
Unbelievable.
The rest of the money. So when we did this, I told my wife like, hey, George has an Instagram, start Susie an Instagram, followers start coming, the money starts coming in. By the next day, I said, okay, I think we'll get about 25 grand here. What I'm going to do is get this dog healthy. That same day, someone reached out and said, hey, I saw you on the news. I went and I adopted this dog today. The next day, someone else did. So I said, you know what? I'm going to save a life a day for a year. I'm going to get this dog healthy. I'm going to inspire people to adopt. And so 6 months in, we know Susie's like, she's going to live. She's good. We know we have extra money. We have about 95 adoptions. So I say at 100, I have an announcement. We hit 100 and I announce, I'm going to give away $10,000. I'll give you $100 if you adopt a dog or a cat and send me proof. I built like a quick little website. I'll Venmo it to you. I'll PayPal it to you. I'm not signing up for Cash App. That's how you get the money from me. It's free money. Or if you don't want it, I'll just keep it rolling. We'll keep doing dogs. So we ended up doing 366 lives in 366 days because it was a leap year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they adopted a dog. You gave them $100.
Yep, just to help offset the costs. So like,
wow.
I said in the initial video when I announced it, I said, don't go and adopt a dog for $100. Like they cost way more. It's a commitment. But if you're like on the fence, I can soften your landing a little bit.
Yeah.
And we get pictures of like families like, hey, this is our first dog. We never had a dog before. They've got 2 kids. So now those kids are going to be dog people and they'll have dog kids. And, everyone will adopt.
I'm sure your story of like newborn kid, already have a dog. Fuck, we don't want a dog, but like this kind of just happened to us. And you handling it and being okay is something people can go, well, they're okay.
Yeah, we figured
and
it
we're
out.
Dogless. We'll figure it out just in the same way they did. Right. That's amazing.
And like, I never wanted more dogs than I had. Like when I lived in New York, my wife wanted a dog and I was just like, we like going to happy hour. And like anytime I'd be at happy hour and I'd see someone I know who had a dog, I'm just like, who's walking your dog? Like, I didn't want a dog because I didn't want the responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I knew within that, that next day when I said, hey, I'm going to do this, I said, and I'm going to write a children's book. I think this is a children's book. My father-in-law wrote Boardwalk Empire.
Really?
So, Yeah, so he wrote Boardwalk Empire. It was out for like 10 years until somebody who plays golf with Mark Wahlberg read it and was like, hey, Mark, you're looking for a project. You should read this. He reads it. It's like, hey, Marty, we should do a project together. Scorsese's like, oh, HBO just got rid of The Sopranos, so they need something. They've been asking me. They go to The Soprano. They go to HBO. HBO says, all right, cool, Scorsese, you're gonna show run it. And he goes, no, I'll produce it. I'll do the first episode. Get Terrence Winter from The Sopranos. Then they go to my father-in-law to buy the book. So I tell him I'm going to do this. And he is just like, okay. A year later, I go to him and go, hey, you got any tips? I'm interviewing agents. And he was like, for what? And I'm like, the book. And he's like, oh, you're still on that like kick of like a book? Like, okay, answered some questions because I wanted to do it on my own. I didn't want to like nepo, like, in-law my way into it. Then it's like, hey, because he was a lawyer by trade. He wrote Boardwalk Empire for fun.
In his free time?
Yeah, just like
He's a lawyer who had a book optioned to a TV series that went on for 5 years or whatever?
Yeah, he was a judge at the time it went on TV. But yeah, he wrote
It's
it
crazy.
as a lawyer. Yeah. And technically the show was 2 books because he wrote another book about all the black community. Then that's why they really start to show up at the end of the first season because then they optioned it after the premiere. And so then it's like another year and more later, I'm like, hey, can you look at this contract for me? And he's like, what contract? And I was just like, oh, I got an offer to write a kid's book. Like I wrote a kid's book, I got an offer. And then he looked at it because like Susie's viral. There's news behind it. He was like, your offer is dramatically different than mine when I was just like, will anybody please publish this book for me? So it was like a fun thing as I went through the whole process. Like when I interviewed agents at first, they all asked like, what do you want out of this? They want to make sure you're not like, well, I'm going to retire. I'm Dr. Seuss now.
Right.
And I said 3 things. One, I want my daughter to be in a book. I think that's cool. Hopefully she doesn't turn into Gone Girl, but I think it'd be cool for her to be in a book. 2, I want to be a New York Times bestseller so I can mess with my father-in-law and tell him, hey, it's not that hard. Right. And then 3, I want to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. And the woman who's the president of the agency that I signed with goes, what does 3 have to do with anything? And I go, I'm JJ from the Bronx. I talk about the Yankees. The dog's named after the Yankees announcer. If I'm a bestseller and you can't get me a Tuesday against the Royals, what's the point of any of this?
Right.
And she just goes, you've got a weird brain, but that makes sense. And so I was like, all right, we can rock together.
Did it happen? Are you going to get the first pitch?
Book's not out yet. I need to get on the bestseller list.
So listen, people, if you're listening, you're watching on YouTube, let's get this book on the top, on the New York Times bestseller. Let's make dreams come true. This is amazing. So now the dog is well. It lives with you. What's the premise of the book? Is it a lost dog who finds a family? Is that kind of...
It's the story of like that night. Now, I had to dramatize some of like Susie walking down the street and stuff like that. But it really is just the story of that night.
Does the drunk get in the book?
He's not drunk in the book, but yeah, okay. He's in there. The vet that like made time to see us is in the book because like in real life, his aunt and uncle are like huge Susie fans. So like I needed to make sure as we were doing the illustrations, I'm like, no, it has to look just like this guy because he helped us. Like everything about this, I've just tried to like do it the right way.
Right.
Like because even the first year, like a production company reached out and was like, this would be a great Hallmark movie, 15 grand. Can we have your story? And I was just like, no, didn't make any money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Waited a full year, saved all the dogs, did an Instagram Q&A. People say, kids book. I say, I need an agent. A couple people go, I'm an agent. But then like a woman wrote me a longer thing and said, I'm not an agent. I have my own PR firm. I don't want you to hire me. I used to work at whatever publisher. I signed Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I did A-Rod's kids book. I know you're a Yankee fan. Want to make sure you don't get taken advantage of. And she helped me write my pitch, sent it around to agents, asked for nothing in return. And it's just been like, this whole thing has just been like a good vibes. Like I'm trying to do the right thing. So people want to help me. My agent tried to sell it for a year on news clippings. Like no one wanted me to write the actual book. We have our second daughter. So I'm like, I've got time. I'm on paternity leave. I'll write the book. And then like my agent went on a podcast talking about switching careers later in life. Like she became an agent at 40. The next week, someone reaches out and goes, hey, I heard you on that podcast. I was on the same show. I became an editor at 35. if you ever have anything, send it my way. I work at Source Books Kids. We do kids books. We really specialize in books with animals or holidays. And she's just like, where do I have something for you?
Yeah, I might have one in mind.
Yeah, so it's just like, as
the
much
good
as,
vibes
like,
wave. You're surfing on it.
Exactly. So it's just like, try to just like be really positive about things. Try to like help people help dogs. Like now that it's coming out, I'm speaking at a bunch of schools, which is like really weird to go from, for a lot of people, Barstool guy to like, now they ask me to come to schools is like crazy.
And the thing of, the Barstool of it all, like some people can't, they just can't mix things, but I can look at it as all of this happened for a reason. Barstool teaches you how to write, teaches you how to like find your voice.
It's how I got the following,
Right. You had a following, you had these connections that were built in, and it's almost like this is a Hallmark movie. I don't take the 15 grand, but I think there's the almost like I mean, I'm sure people listening, you get a little chill down your spine because you're like, everything happens for a reason, all of this kind of does feel like it was like 30 million things that come together, and then it like comes into focus, and you're like, it was all meant to save the lives of dogs.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like crazy.
As a first-time author, like, I'm not getting rich on this, this isn't a money-making thing. It's cool. It's cool experiences. If I get to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium, like, that'll be the highlight of my life.
Right. I hope that happens. I can't think of anyone. Like, I just saw like Carl from Summer House throw the first pitch at a Pittsburgh game. I'm like, and now I'm getting mad at Carl, who I like. I'm like, this fucking guy and not JJ from the Bronx. Like, exactly. And then when you say like a Royals game on a Tuesday, I'm like, who's in that? Who is making that decision that says no to that? Like, you're saying no to the guy who saved the life of a dog and 366 more? I'm getting mad, like, for you.
You're getting mad at the Yankees, who I haven't even formally asked yet.
Right. No, I'm imagining this person at a desk who's like got a big like stamp in front of him with rejected. And I hate that person. I don't know why I've invented.
And they're just like, no, we can't do it because we've got the number 3 guy at the sanitation union throwing out the first pitch.
Fuck the sanitation union. Okay. So, well, listen, I am excited about this. Susie N. Pupman, that's the Instagram account for the dog. JJ from the Bronx is the Instagram account for Jack. You can find him. But the name of the book, A Stray Dog for Christmas. It comes out September 3rd. I fucked up. I didn't even look at a calendar. What's the day? What day is September 3rd?
It's the day after Labor Day.
Oh, so this will be out the day it's out. So listen, people, go to the link, get the book for some kid in your life. This is such an easy pitch.
Here's my pitch. And so I'll tell you, when I first started, so like great publicist, publishing house, they book the stuff that they book. Like, I was like, I totally trust you guys to do what you do, but I need to supplement that because like my connections is how I got here. Right. So I at one point had put together like a PowerPoint presentation. I showed up to a meeting with them and I was like, do you mind if I share my screen? And they're like, why? I'm just like, I have ideas. And one of my ideas was, I was like, listen, I need to get on shows, and you were an example, and Are You Garbage was an example. And I called it Drunk Uncle Marketing. And I go, listen, these shows, a lot of people listen to them have kids, but a lot of them don't. Like a lot of your listeners are here for dating advice and these things. For all those people, when you go home single for the holidays, you're going to be judged. Right. But if you have a niece or a nephew and part of your Christmas gift is a book, now that gets rid of some of the judgment. Like, I'm here to help them.
This is a very good point. The listenership of this podcast, no one expects them to come with book in hand. They don't expect that type of gift from people listening or watching. This is a undersell, over deliver opportunity for everyone listening or watching on YouTube. So we want everyone to go buy the book. A Stray Dog for Christmas. Look at it. It's beautiful. It looks good. It would look good on the shelf. It looks good if you wrapped it. You probably, that's the thing. The drunk uncle, drunk aunt, not a rapper, not a big rapping person. They don't even have to.
In the back of the book, there's a QR code that goes to like Susie's link tree. So it's like, you got the Instagram. There's a real dog. So then your niece and nephew, your kids, you get to go, look, this is a real dog. You want to see the dog? This is a real thing. We've got before and after pictures. It is a story.
Is that in the kids' book? There's before and after pictures?
Yeah, we had to be like very particular about, we didn't want them to, we don't want to scare anybody. Like, we don't talk about in the story like the actual medical issues, but for anybody watching, you can see like when she's
it's beautiful. This is,
and then like with my kids. So it's a fun, it's a fun thing. It's a cool experience. I get to like reconnect with people, get to save dogs, get to inspire kids. I got to, when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, one of the teachers in my school, she was a health teacher. They were like, her son's coming to speak to the school. And I'm like, who gives a shit? And her son was the actor, Leon, and Cool Runnings had just come out. So he was the star of Cool Runnings, and he was in the Madonna video and stuff. And I just remember like how cool that felt that he was there. And like for anybody in New York, like I went to Bronx Science. At one point, like Glenn Close came and spoke there. So I was just like, people who come to schools, I think are cool. So like, I think it's cool to get the opportunity to do it.
I love it. Everyone go. Buy the book, A Stray Dog for Christmas. This was very cool. I'm so happy you came on. I'm so happy we could talk about the book. And everyone go do it. This is what a great Chit Chat Wednesday. This is exactly why we started doing Chit Chat Wednesday, for conversations like this. Thank you, man, for coming on. This is so awesome.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. And, I told you offline, but for anyone listening, watching Jared's career the past like 5 years has been like just so cool for someone who can be like, I knew him when.
Thank you. That's way too kind. That's you knew me when I was remembering your bomb.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with Pop Culture Thursday. Boom.